Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel Music and Logic and to our Python tutorial series. Today's topic is an important one, functions. Functions are a fundamental part of Python programming, allowing us to reuse code efficiently, avoid redundancy and organize our programs better. By the end of this video, you will be comfortable defining your own functions, understanding parameters and return values, and working with both positional and keyword arguments. Make sure to follow along with me. It will be fun and interactive, and I will be giving you some challenges to keep you engaged. Let's dive right in. Alright, everyone, before we dive into today's topic, let's quickly go over the answers to the MCQs from our previous video. Ready? Let's see how many you got right. Which loop would you use to iterate over a list? So the for loop is perfect for iterating over a list because it automatically goes through each element one by one. Did you get that one right? Let me know in the comments. So what does the continue statement do? The continue statement is useful when you want to skip the current iteration and move on to the next one. It doesn't exit the loop. It just says, hey, let's move on. And what will happen if you forget to update the condition in a while loop? So, the answer is the loop will run infinitely. This is a classic mistake. If you forget to update the condition, the while loop keeps going forever. Not ideal. The fourth one is, what does the break statement do? The correct answer is exits the loop immediately. Unlike continue, break statement completely stops the loop in its tracks and exits. And which of the following is true about nested loops? So loops can be nested inside each other. This is the correct option. You can nest for loops, while loops and mix them up however you like. And the last question is, what is a common mistake when using a while loop? The correct answer is causing an infinite loop by not updating the condition. This one's tricky. If you don't update your loop's condition, it can lead to an infinite loop, and we definitely don't want that. How many did you get right? If you got all of them, great job. And if you missed a couple, no worries. Keep practicing and these concepts will stick. Now let's move on to today's topic. Let's start with the basics. How do we define a function in Python? We use the def keyword. Here is what the syntax looks like. The def keyword tells Python, hey, we are defining a function now. And next comes the function name followed by parentheses. Inside those parentheses, we'll later add parameters if the function needs any input. After the colon, we write the code we want the function to execute. This is called the function body. Now let's write a very simple example of a function. So to run this function, we'll need to call it. Notice how the parentheses are used when calling the function. Without them, the function won't execute. Alright, now it's your turn. Pause the video and write your own function that prints a simple greeting like Welcome to Python. Once you are done, come back and we'll continue. I guess you got it right. Let's move on. Now let's make our functions a bit more interesting by introducing parameters. Parameters allow us to pass information into a function so it can work with different inputs. Here is an example. In this example, we have added name as a parameter. When we call the function with ram, the output greets ram. This makes functions super flexible. But sometimes you might want to get something back from the function. That's where return values come in. To send a value back from the function, we use the return statement. Let's look at an example where we return the result of adding two numbers. So in this example, the function takes two numbers as inputs, adds them together and returns the result, which we can then use or print. Alright, I want you to pause the video again and try writing your own function that adds two numbers. Call the function add underscore numbers and return the sum of two inputs. And did you manage to do it? If your solution looks something like this example, then you are on the right track. Now, when calling a function, you provide arguments, which are the actual values passed to the parameters. The simplest way to pass arguments is using positional arguments, where the position of each argument matters. For example, look at the given example below. In this case, the first argument is passed to animal and the second to name. But if you switch the order, the output will change, which looks in this way. So, positional arguments rely on the order in which you pass the values. And if you don't want to rely on the order of the arguments, you can use keyword arguments. Here you explicitly state which value corresponds to which parameter. So look at the example below. With keyword arguments, you can pass the values in any order and it will still work because you are explicitly specifying which arguments goes where. Alright, here is a quick challenge. Write a function that takes three arguments: first name, last name, and age. Use both positional and keyword arguments to call the function in different ways and observe how Python handles it. Pause the video and give it a try and come back. Got it? Great. Remember, keyword arguments are super useful when dealing with functions that have many parameters, allowing you to avoid confusion with argument order. Now, one important thing to remember is that if a function doesn't have a return statement, it returns none by default. Let me show you an example. So, as you can see, the function prints hello, but since we didn't tell it to return anything, it gives back none. So, if you want your function to return a value, always use the return statement. This is all about the return statement and none. So here are examples for each common mistake to help you understand how to avoid these issues. And the first one is forgetting to call a function after defining it. Here is the code. So alright, let's start with this. And you wrote this beautiful function to greet people. It's just sitting there so elegant and so perfect, but you forget to call it. So nothing happens. Don't let your hard work go unnoticed. Always call your functions. So in this case, the function greet user is defined, but it's not called anywhere. Many beginners define functions and then forget to actually invoke them, which means the code inside the function will never run. So here is the corrected code. And the second one is confusing parameters with arguments. So look at the code. Here is one that trips up beginners all the time. Parameters are like those placeholders you all know, like name in greet user, in the brackets name. They are waiting for their BFF arguments, the actual values. If you don't pass the right argument, they'll be like, hey, where's my data? So remember, always pass in the values the function is expecting. The function greet user has a parameter name, which is a placeholder for the value passed when calling the function the argument. If you forget to pass an argument, Python will raise an error because the function expects one. So here is a corrected example. And the third one is forgetting to use return when you need a value. Look at the example. Ever written a function that calculates something, but when you try to print it, you get none? Yeah, that's because you forgot to return the result. It's like your function is holding on to the answer but doesn't want to share. Always return your results if you need to use them later. So here is the function add numbers, calculates the sum of two numbers but doesn't use return to send the result back to the caller. Without return, the function will output none when printed. So look at the corrected example here. Now that we have covered first part of functions in detail, it's time to test your understanding with some exercises. Don't worry, I'll be giving you answers in the next video, so make sure to try these out before watching the solution. So These are the questions. Give these exercise a shot and in the next video we'll walk through the answers together. Don't forget to post any questions in the comments if you get stuck and I'll be happy to help. See you in the next video. That wraps up our introduction to functions in Python. We have covered defining functions with def keyword, working with parameters, returning values, and using both positional and keyword arguments. Functions are an essential part of any Python program, and mastering them will make your code cleaner, more efficient, and reusable. Don't forget to practice writing your own functions, experiment with different types of arguments, and see what happens when you leave things out or swap the order. If you enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Until next time, happy coding. Bye bye.